Welcome to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill DeMent, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Hole in the Wall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning to you.
Good morning.
It's not very often, and we've done a lot of shows, but it hasn't been a lot of construction people. Do you realize that? We've had a lot of insurance guys and some franchise people. And
we're not intimidated by construction, though, because we're in the construction industry.
We absolutely
we
are.
Love it well, yeah.
Yes, and we met another one of us this morning. That may be near one of the longest pre-shows we've ever had.
Yeah,
because we were just enjoying the conversation so much. Yeah. But I'm going to go ahead and bring him in.
Yes,
that's Jacob Lane with DBK Construction and Services. Jacob is the Vice President of Growth and Operations. So welcome in, Jacob. Thanks for coming today.
Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Glad you're here. Glad you're here. Our audiences love you already. So listen, welcome to the show. We want to kind of dig into kind of who you are and who DBK is, and curious how you got connected with them. But why don't you just take a few seconds, just kind of tell the audience kind of who you are, you know, getting in with DBK and what DBK does, and just kind of fill us in.
Sure.
So far there.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm just a basic construction guy, really, that every man in my family is in construction in one way or another. Literally both grandfathers, uncles on both sides, my father, everyone. So guess what I tried not to do?
Yeah. I'll bet it was construction, right?
Exactly. I tried everything I could to not be in construction, and yet it just pulled me there. That was my destiny. And now I'm happy I'm here. This is my home, and I love it.
Nice.
So
that's really cool. And so how did you get involved with DBK?
Okay. So actually the CEO is a distant cousin of mine. And so I was always in construction, and I was always hearing about DeMent, Crude, and I'm always, your cousin has a big construction company. You should go get with him. I'll do my own thing. I don't, need to go anywhere. I'm fine. And just over time, I was working on the road, and, I was making a family, got a wife, got kids. And I was making really good money working on the road, but I was away too much, and so I got to the point where I was like, I need to come back home. And I had saved up a nice little amount that I could sit down for a little while with. And so I come off the road, I sit, and then it was my family again, like, hey, why don't you go see your cousin? So I get his phone number, and I give him a call. And in my head, I'm like, well, we're cousins. I'm going to call him, and he's going to give me a job, and I'm going to be at the top of the company, and we're going to run this thing together. Mm-hmm. So I pick up the phone, and I call DeMent, and he says, oh, hey, Jacob. Yeah. Good to hear from you. He's like, here, let me give you a number of the hiring manager. You can call him, and he'll interview you and see if you get a job. So I was like, well, that didn't go exactly how I, but I'm glad. I'm actually really, really glad that he did it that way. There were no handouts. I started as a superintendent there as DBK, at the bottom. And they quickly kind of saw that I could be a little bit more. And that was my boss at that time. And so I moved from superintendent to a project manager, and then to a construction manager. And then I kind of did a little leap from there up to the current spot I'm in.
Yeah. So you kind of plug in wherever the holes are.
Yes. Yeah. As soon as I got there, it's just kind of who I am. I want to be a part of the bigger picture. I want to make an impact to the organization that I'm with. And I worked with a lot of smaller companies prior. And so DBK was one of the larger ones for me. So it was a little bit of a challenge to figure out how I was going to do that. But right away, I started noticing things in the processes. I'm very much an operations person and a process person. So I looked at some of the things that were missing. I said, man, if they implemented this or that, I bet things could run a little smoother and a little better. And to DBK's credit, once I started to, offer up some of these changes, they listened and they implemented them. And that was really a big part in the beginning that showed me, I said, you know what, I might be able to do something here. And here I am 9 years, almost 10 years later now. So,
nice. Yeah. I knew I'd like him on the ops side.
Ops guy, I know.
Processes king.
I tell James all the time, he's such an ops guy. He does all the ops he can here, and he's not done. He'll go to the neighboring business and go ops for them. I mean, he just offers that for like people that come on the show. TNT.
Oh yeah.
He was here not too long ago. We're like, and all of a sudden he's using our web guy. He's using Trish to do his social media. So he just was looking for a plug-in ops guy.
Yeah. I didn't even think that was so much of a rare thing. I thought everyone kind of thought in terms of operations, but they don't. And so if you're able to look at an operations from a 30,000 feet type of view and say, well, I see a little kink here. Mm-hmm. Let's fix that, and let's fix it for going forward so that things work better. Because that's another thing you'll see is where there'll be a problem or a fire and people will just put the fire out and then just keep going. But don't put anything in place so that fire don't start back up again. Mm-hmm. So I think really good operations guys, that's the way we think. We're like, okay, first, yes, let's get the fire out immediately, but then let's leave something behind us that makes sure that same fire doesn't start
leave
back
a vacuum. I'm curious, do you feel like you came by that naturally, or was there somebody in your past that maybe was a mentor that you watched operate that way?
I took a little bit from everybody that I ever worked under, and I've worked under a lot of really good guys. So it's kind of like with each person that I've worked under, I've looked at them one of two ways. It's either you belong where you're at, and so I'm going to learn from you and push you up because I always want to go up wherever I'm at. So I'm either going to push you up, or there's the other way. I don't think you're the right guy there, and I'm going to push you out of the way so that I can continue to go up. But along that journey, I've been very lucky to have some great mentors above me that taught me a lot of good things. So yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about DBK and just kind of what's their focus, because each construction company has a different focus. Some people are doing new home construction, some people are doing small residential things, or they're doing multi-unit type of dwellings. What is your guys' focus?
Sure. So really multifamily is our backbone at DBK. We do renovations mainly, and we also have a service side. So we've kind of stuck to that. We've bounced around into other markets and tried things out, but we're just good at the multifamily, and we've got great partnerships there. So just to go into that more, we've got a GC side, and so we'll do large scale renovation projects for management companies, and you'd be surprised how large those can get. I mean, there's up to $3, $4, $5 million projects and higher sometimes. Mm-hmm. They want to take these multifamily properties and fix them up, value add, and that's where we come in. We can start all the way from the beginning as far as walking a property that they might be looking at that they're interested in buying, and do the due diligence with them to say, hey, here's where your money's probably going to be best spent to get the best bang for your buck. And then we'll follow that project all the way through and actually complete it. So that's our general construction side. And then we have services. So that right now is that's locally here in Central Florida. And by services, what I mean is, so you've got HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and we'll go out to any of the multifamily developments around here. And if they have a service that's needed, AC goes down, they need an AC replaced, any electrical work, plumbing work, then we're the call for you.
So you mentioned you guys are based here in Central Florida, but you do jobs beyond Central Florida, don't you?
Absolutely, yes. Yep. So our general contracting side is really nationwide. Oh. And how that came about was we were just doing a lot of work with our management companies here. And they'd start asking us, they're like, man, it'd be really nice if we could have you guys do our work in this area. We're struggling. We can't find good contractors. And so we'd look at it, and is it big enough? Does it make enough sense? And that was really a milestone for DBK, is when we figured that out, how to be able to take the quality work that we do and go to a different part of the country and replicate that. And so recently we've opened an office in Denver, and I was able to play a big part of that, which was exciting. And now we're working on opening an office in Tampa. So, and we also have an office down in Miami. So we've got office in DeBary here. That's our main one. Denver, Miami, and then now Tampa. And we've got a couple other cities on our sites. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I want to go back just a little bit. So you're saying that you can work with an investment company when they're looking at analyzing maybe an older property, older multi-unit apartment complex, whatever it is,
sure,
and help them analyze ways to make that property better. And then if they buy the property, then you can then take it. So what kind of things are you doing to properties like that?
Okay. So it could be anywhere from, let's say they buy this property and it's in pretty bad shape. We can do the roofs, we can replace all of the windows, we can do all of the siding, stucco, we can add some amenities to it. You want to add a dog park, you want to upgrade the clubhouse, whatever it is that they want to do there. And there's formulas to this stuff too in multifamily that they know where they'll get the best value. People want to have certain amenities for their apartment complexes. So if they buy one and it's got one little small park back in the corner, then it's like, well, let's add to that, so we can upgrade their pool, you name it. Yeah.
So like a full facelift, making something that's kind of dingy and make it brand new again, basically.
That's right.
Yeah,
and I love doing that. That's something I've always just loved doing, even since I was a kid, taking something that's maybe not in really good shape, clean it up, fix it, make it better, and step back and look at it and say, wow, that looks good. I'm proud of that, and coming from construction and all the men in my family being in construction, I remember when I was a kid, I'd ride around with my dad, and he'd drive my mom crazy because he'd be like, your dad built that. Your dad built that, He's pointing at everything as we're going down the road. And sure enough, here I am now, riding around with my kids and my wife, and like, yeah, your dad fixed that up. Your dad was a part of that. Your dad was a part of this. So yeah, it's really rewarding.
Yeah. There is, I call it the beat your chest moment, because our crew does it every day. We do 30, 40 jobs a week, and these technicians are out there working. And when you are in your 20s or 30s and you take something that's destroyed and you rebuild it and you make it look like it was never destroyed,
right?
There's a pride in that.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not like sitting behind a cubicle and just kind of typing and making things happen. You actually are working with your hands. You're creating. You're artists.
And if that's your thing, it's so satisfying.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just nice to kind of see. I did that. I helped. My fingerprints are all over this project. So
yes,
I get it, and I think that's super important. And that's why I love the trades, because a lot of people, they think that you got to go to college to get a career. You got to go to universities and Ivy Leagues, and then graduate with a useless degree.
Right.
But yet you can make good money working with your hands, working with your brain, out there in the field. And so a lot of our younger guys, they're fresh out of high school. They didn't want to go to college. They didn't have the desire to sit behind a desk again for another 4 years or more to do nothing with their life outside of just kind of, learn how to.
And, we had a meeting within the last few weeks with a gentleman that has an MBA.
Wow.
And he was confessing it's a lot of book knowledge, but I just don't know what to do when the rubber meets the road. I don't know what the real world implications of a lot of this stuff is in business.
Right. Yeah. And I myself, I do not have a college degree, and I remember a time when I was getting into construction, it was almost, I don't want to use the word embarrassing to say that you were getting into construction, but back in the day, that was kind of where you went if you didn't go to school, like if you didn't go to college, it's like, oh, I'm in construction. Now, and to your point, James, is yes, you can make a lot of money in this. And I'm proud to say that I'm in construction, and especially that I'm in construction management. And I try to preach some of that to some of the younger kids that, this is a dying breed that's getting into this. And I remember when I was working on job sites as a kid, some of the older guys were telling me that. They're like, this is a dying breed. People are not getting into this like they used to. So you're setting yourself up in the right spot. At the time, I didn't understand it because, again, back to the beginning of this conversation, I wanted to do everything but, do construction.
Yeah.
I've owned a few other businesses prior to this. When I was I owned a tattoo shop for a period of time. I owned a small clothing store for a little while. And I actually owned an installation and dismantle company in trade shows. So I tried everything I could to do something else, but construction pulled me back, and this is where I'm going to be.
Yeah. I wonder, do you guys have a strategy that you use? First of all, I guess let me preface that with, do you all have trouble attracting good talent, and do you have a strategy to overcome that?
So I would say, excuse me, I would say definitely lately it's been a lot more challenging than it has been in the past. And you guys, I see you nodding your head because maybe it's ever since COVID or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, what our CEO says all the time is we want to take care of our people so well that they're going out and they're attracting other talent in. And so that's really what we do to make sure people want to come over to us, and we put our people first. And so that speaks for itself, and they go out for us into the streets and say, hey, you need to come try to get a job here.
Mm.
And that's worked really well.
I like that philosophy.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I do too. I want to dig in a little bit more, just kind of on some of the, I'm sure you've got a few stories of projects that went extremely well versus projects that did not.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the did not, and then maybe we can go to the did.
Okay.
Well, so do you have any horror stories, anything that just kind of stands out as a learning experience for you or the company that was like, won't do that again?
Right. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. There's definitely plenty. In construction, you sit in this conference room and you might have a set of plans there, and you put a schedule down on paper, and you got this budget, and you're like, okay, it's going to cost exactly this much, and it's going to take this amount of time, and when it's done, it's going to look just like this, and then it's then you get hit in the face. And so
everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, right?
Exactly. So something we have evolved from, talking about projects that struggled in the past and we've got better about, is we would always start out wrong. And that's so important. We come out not enough planning on the front end. It's, we're like, all right, we got the project. Let's just boots on the ground. Let's go. Just get guys there, get the materials and go. And so it's that learning curve in the beginning that you're trying to get your feet, and so you get behind in the beginning. Now you're playing catch up for the rest of the project. And so I can't really name one specific project that we did that on, because honestly, there were many. And we just kind of identified that, and we're like, we got to fix that part. So we've invested a lot into what is our pre-construction department now. And so I would say there's probably an equal amount of work that happens before the project even starts, if not more. And then that sets you up for success, so that you're not starting behind. So it's really, really about the setup and the planning in the front end.
So it's the processes.
Absolutely.
This is one thing that we talked a lot about here. We don't want a system that runs off personalities.
Right.
I want a system that I can remove a personality and it's now put someone else in and it runs by process.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
In relation to that, I wonder, post project, are there things that you all need to do and plan for as well?
Yes. So we actually call that the postmortem. And
okay.
Yeah. We'll look at the project afterwards, and not only, you would think you would look at all the things that go wrong, and you definitely want to do that so you learn from the mistakes, but what went right also, so that we can repeat that next time. So yeah, we'll sit down in the conference room and we'll get all the paperwork out, and we'll have the project manager there, the superintendent there, and some of us higher ups as well. We'll just go through it from the beginning. We'll say, okay, here's what we talked about in the beginning in the conference room. Like I said, we've got everything was planned out, and here's how it actually played out. Why did it play out that way? What could we have done differently? And what did we learn along the way? What worked? And yes, that's an important part of the process for sure.
Yeah. Did you know that there are over 140 million homes in the U.S.? 97% of them have walls and ceilings that are built using drywall. The drywall repair industry is simply enormous, valued at over $13 billion a year. We're hole-in-the-wall drywall repair, and for years we have been perfecting the art of repairing drywall, developing and refining our systems, and strengthening our brand. Our business model is simple, scalable, and easy to learn. We believe it's a real game changer. We are successful drywall repair pros who decided to take our repair business to a higher level, growing both our franchise training and support to industry-leading standards. You'll benefit from our vast experience helping your franchise hit the ground running and achieve success quickly. We'll give you access to our marketing team that has created strategic programs designed to get your phone ringing and booking new business fast. Join a fast-growing leader in an exciting dynamic segment of the home service industry by franchising with Hole-in-the-Wall Drywall Repair. Start building your own business and securing your own financial future today. So we work in people's homes that are occupied. Mm-hmm. A lot of these times you're going into properties that are occupied. Is that right?
Yes.
I mean, how often are you going into a vacant property?
Very rarely.
Right.
Yes.
So I just wanted, because I know the challenges, because we actually did work for DBK, I don't know, 10 years ago, back when we were green.
Yeah.
And we worked in a property that was occupied. And I know the challenges of working in occupied properties. So I'm curious, maybe you could just to tell our audience kind of what are some of the struggles that you got to work with when you're dealing with people that actually live there?
Great topic. Great topic. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is really what sets us apart from our competition, because this is all we do is work in occupied units. So what I'll have to tell guys often if we're interviewing a new guy that's coming on and I've been doing construction 20 years. I come from construction. I said, that's awesome. How much of construction have you done in an occupied unit? Well, no, none. And I'm like, this is completely different. So on a job site, you got the vulgar language, you got maybe no shirt on, you know what I mean? It's the construction guys. And right. I know that world too. I come from that world, and that's fine. But this is not that. This is someone's grandmother living there. This is, kids running around. These are pets there, and these are their homes, mm-hmm. And so they want construction to happen, and they want it to be invisible. They don't want to see it. They don't want to smell it. They don't want to hear it. And obviously that's not realistic, but you got to be as close to that as possible. And so it's kind of more of a white glove approach is what we like to call it to construction. It's a lot cleaner approach. So we're very conscious of what our guys look like, what our vans look like, and also just setting those expectations too. So when you get there, have that conversation with the tenants, have that conversation with the manager to say, hey, look, here's what it's going to look like. Here's how this process is going to go. Here's the parts of the process that are going to be a little louder. Here's the parts of the process that might be a little dirtier, but you're still making sure at the end of every day and probably a couple of times during the day, you're cleaning up. And those are huge differences between, ground up construction or being on a construction site where you can just destroy the place while you're working.
It's almost a niche, isn't it, to be able to perform in that environment. We find that a lot too, because we're working in the intimate spaces in someone's home, a lot of times in their master bedroom or a bathroom, places that their friends and family never go to.
Sure.
And, if we're working out in the yard, I could hire ex-cons, but I can't, right. I can't take that guy into your wife's house, when she's the only one at home. Right. We have to have safe people for that. And then we train, I'm stealing that, the white glove approach. I love it. Yes. That's a good term.
I caught that too. Because I know when we worked for you guys years ago, you were replacing windows in this complex, which required obviously a little bit of damage on the outside, probably some stucco damage. Now you got to tear the drywall apart on the inside. So you guys replaced the windows. We'd fall behind and just do all of the window putbacks, the decoration and the drywall. But we had to work around people's homes. So if you're replacing a window in the master bedroom, that bed may be pushed all the way up against the wall.
Yes.
So then somehow we've got to very gently move. You guys had to move the bed out of the way, replace the window. We had to come in, repair all the drywall, and not make a mess in their home, because that night they're sleeping in that bedroom.
Yes.
And we can't disturb the way they live.
Right.
That's obviously a lawsuit waiting to happen for the complex, right?
Yes.
So I see that need. It's difficult because even most of the time, especially in the state of Florida, you have to give 24-hour notice before you go into an apartment, before because obviously as a landlord, you have the right to go into the home, but you do have to give them notice. And we would show up and we'd have just a whole keychain full of keys, and we'd knock on the door, and most people wouldn't let us in, or they change the locks. And there's all kinds of challenges and struggles with that, right?
Oh, yeah. I've got a headache today. Can you come back tomorrow?
Yes.
We're pretty much scheduled to be here today. We'll be gone tomorrow.
Yes. So there is so many challenges that can come with working, and you guys just named a few of them. And that example that you have of replacing windows in an occupied unit, that's one of the more invasive things that you're going to face, right? And yes, those are very challenging. So that goes back to that planning, because again, let's say you're doing a ground up construction and you got a goal that day of installing, 20 windows. Great. We only got 18 in today. Well, we'll get them tomorrow, boys. You cannot do that when you're working with occupied units. If you take out 20 windows have to go back by the end of that day, because people are sleeping in these homes. And not only does that kind of happen in that time frame, it's got to happen where you're conscious of these people's homes. Do they have a cat that's going to try to jump out and run away?
Mercy.
Is there a teenager that's home by themselves and we can't go in there? What are all the different challenges? So there's a lot of planning that goes in.
And especially in Florida, let's hope we don't open it up at 3:00 and then the skies open up.
Yes.
All summer long.
And we've seen that as well.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Or open the wall up and all of a sudden you realize the old window's been leaking for the past 5 years.
Right.
And there's mold inside the walls.
There's mold, or there's just dry rot. Now I've got to do some additional construction to even hang my window back in.
Yes. So you got to be ready to pivot at any time, and you've got to have the right manpower there to be able to do that, and have that front end planning, back to that. Whereas, in the past, we may have went into one of those projects with not enough planning, and you're going to run into some major problems if you do that. So that was definitely a big part that we had to fix.
So are all your projects super large like that?
No. We try not to go too small because it might not make sense. And we'll explain that to the client, if they call us out for maybe something that you guys would do, like a smaller drywall patch. We'll say, well, as a general contractor, we might not be the most price effective way for you to approach that. Because if we do a project, there's going to be a superintendent involved, you know what I mean? And we're going to come out there and we're going to hire a subcontractor because we don't have the in-house labor for those things. So long as it makes sense, I would say anything that requires a permit, you're definitely going to want to have a general contractor doing it. If it's something they don't want to deal with the headaches of, because we make sure our whole goal is, if we're doing the work for you, you should be able to sit at your desk, continue doing what your daily job is already, and you get a daily report from us that shows exactly what happened, the progress for the day. Here's our plan for tomorrow. You got a superintendent that's coming in and checking with you in the morning to say, hey, here's what we're going to be doing. Here's what you should be prepared for, and then at the end of the day, checking in again with them to say, all right, we completed that. You'll have your daily report, and here's what our plan is for tomorrow. So that's really where we come in.
So on average, how many projects do you have going on at one time, you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, across the nation, that's hard to say. So in Denver, we've probably got 5 or 6 going on right now. Miami has always been big for us. So I'm sure they've got, 6 or 7 projects going on as well down there. And then Central Florida, probably around the same. So you've got those 3 areas. Now that's the general contracting side. Then as far as the service department goes, you've got vans and trucks that are being deployed every day across the entire Central Florida from, Tampa all the way over to Daytona and down. So yeah, there's guys all over the place.
Wow, that's really great.
So what does the future look like for DBK? I see you guys have grown a lot since inception. I see that you're in multiple states now, but what is sort of the vision for the company going forward?
Right. So what really kickstarted things is back to an earlier part of our conversation when we said we figured out how to be able to travel and do work for our customers in other areas. So now it's how do we bring that service to all of multifamily across the entire nation? And so we're wanting to do that on the construction side, and we're looking to do that on the service side as well. So like I said, this year we're expanding our service department into Tampa, but we're looking at Jacksonville for next. We're looking down towards Fort Myers. And then, our office that's up in Denver currently is just the construction side of things. So we're looking at opening the service department there. So there's so much opportunity for us to grow now that we have figured out how to scale that and how to move that around and introduce it.
It sounds like somebody's got a vision for let's 10X this.
That's right. Let's 100X this.
Wow.
So, and that comes from the top. I've got to say, Damon, who is our CEO, he's very hungry for growth for all of us. It's not just for him. It's that he wants to see us all succeed, and he wants to see us all, reach our full potential.
Sure.
And so he's like, let's go after it, guys. If you guys are ready to do it, I'm ready to do it. And he equips us with what we need to be able to make that growth happen.
Is there a project that sticks out as just, obviously you didn't have one project for a horror story, but do you have like a project that as a company you look back and kind of go, yeah, I'm so glad we were on that job?
Yeah, I have a couple of them. The first one that comes to mind was an apartment complex down in Miami. This is I want to say a 34-story building down there, high rise, right on the water, on the bay. And the name of it's Bay Park. And we were doing the interiors there. So we would shut down 3 entire floors and just full gut and full remodel of these things to take them up. And it was very, very challenging in the beginning to do this, the learning curve, because your subs are learning with you, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be repetitive. We're going to do the same thing once we get to every floor, but the first unit's the first unit. The first floor is the first floor. And you've got a schedule to meet. So it was, I like that one because I personally learned so much on that. And I know a lot of our team learned a lot on that, as well as our subs, because we love our subs too. They're extended part of our family as well. Without them, we couldn't do what we do. So it was a huge opportunity for us to all grow as far as learning, and it was a success. And we completed, wow, I wish I could say how many floors, but I think we did some upwards of 17 floors over there before they put a pause on the project. And now they're talking about getting it resuming again. So we might be able to have some more fun. But,
wow.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So after all these years, DBK has had to develop a core set of values, some words of wisdom. What are some of the things that you guys do internally to kind of keep yourself motivated?
Sure. So we have the 4 Ps, and those 4 Ps stand for people, processes, product, and partnership. And the most important one, if you notice, and it's the first one, is people. So we believe that if we take care of our people internally, then that's going to result in a good product. So through our people and our processes, that's how we get that product, and that's what evolves into getting those great partnerships. But we've always put our people first, and we believe that by doing that, that's what's going to result in the great partnerships and the great product. And in addition to that, something that I noticed as soon as I got to DBK, and it helped me to know that this was going to be my home, is do the right thing. That is our philosophy, and that comes again from the CEO. And you might be like, oh, okay, do the right thing, but well, what exactly does that mean? Well, in construction, again, I've been in it my whole life. I've worked for a couple shady guys, if I'm being honest with you. And when a warranty call comes up, they're always trying to find out, how do we dodge this? How do we blame this on the manufacturer? How do we blame this on the environment? How do we blame this on something else so we don't got to come fix this? And it was so ingrained in me because that was what I was used to being around, that I can recall when I first got to DBK, one of these warranty calls came up. And this was going to be a big one. This was going to cost us around $50,000 to go out and fix this. And so immediately, I'm trying to make an impact here and make a name for myself. I'm like, well, we can just tell them it was this or that. And they said, no, we do the right thing. And it's sad that was a new concept to me in construction, but it was. And it just immediately made me feel that logo that I had on my shirt, I could be proud of.
Right.
Because I had worked for guys in the past that you just kind of took a little bit of that sliminess home, because you're like, man, we really shouldn't have done that. Or we should have went back and fixed that. That was definitely on us, And so it's been shown out of the whole 9 years that I've been at DBK that has stayed true. Every single time, if it is on us, we're going back out there and we're going to make it right. I mean, it's almost to the point where we go out there and make it right sometimes when it's not on us, just because we want it to be right, because our name is on it. So yeah, do the right thing is huge.
Seems like the best companies, the best run companies have similar thinking, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just do the right thing. I love that.
I do too. And we've replaced a few things that was not our fault, but you just have to do the right thing.
Right.
Unfortunately, our margins aren't as big as yours, I don't think, but
well,
you just have to be that way.
Yeah. And it is challenging to be that way when your competition is not that way.
Right.
So we've definitely given up some margin to do the right thing. We've definitely lost some jobs as well, because do the right thing can talk about, in construction, unfortunately, there's a lot of underhanded deals that go on, the pay to play world. We are not in the pay to play world. And so we're aware of some management companies out there. I definitely will not say names, that it is a pay to play. And we know that we're never going to get in there because we're not willing to do that. But again, at the end of the day, you just feel so much better.
Yeah.
And it's just an integrity thing, that it might be a slower path of growth than someone who can just come out and just, cut corners or do things however they want to. But it's built this foundation for us that these little pop-ups come, right? Competition pops up on us and we're like, oh no, who are these guys and what are they doing? But we always find it's the same thing. They're cutting corners. Maybe they're not pulling permits, or maybe they're not using the right product. They're using cheaper stuff. Maybe they're not, doing the quality we are. Well, we're going to let that play out, They might last a year, they might last 3, they might last 5, but eventually they're going to fade away, and those clients are going to come back to us because they know what they're going to get when they're working with DBK.
Wow.
Well, Jacob, outstanding. So glad you came. If someone wants to get some more information about DBK, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you guys?
Sure. So www.godbk.com is our website, and our office number is 407-386-8050. So they can reach out to us that way. That's probably the 2 basic ways. And then we're on all the social medias as well. Right. If you just search DBK Construction on LinkedIn or Instagram or any of those, you'll find us.
Outstanding.
Well, thank you for taking our offer to come on the podcast. Thanks for coming down and being with us today.
Great show.
We loved having you.
This was awesome, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You come back in the future and fill us in on all the new growth for DBK.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Hole in the Wall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.